Hello, grounded Taurus. As August 29, 2026 unfolds, something inside you may feel ready to move. But this time, the deeper question is not whether you have enough strength to act. You already do. The real question is whether you can recognize which direction truly deserves your energy. Lately, you may have felt unsettled, impatient, or as though you should be further ahead by now. You may have a strong urge to change something, make a decision, or finally push a situation forward. But that restlessness does not automatically mean something is wrong. Sometimes restlessness appears because an old way of moving forward has reached the point where it can no longer carry you. Before making your next decision, give yourself enough space to understand what is actually driving you. You naturally know how to stay committed when something matters to you. But there is a difference between moving with confidence and holding on to something simply because uncertainty has become uncomfortable. If you have been feeling scattered or unusually determined to force an answer, pause for a moment and listen to what is underneath that impulse. The goal is not to extinguish your inner strength, Taurus. It is to keep that strength steady enough to guide your road instead of consuming your energy before you reach where you want to go. There may be moments around August 29th when you realize that pushing harder is not automatically the same as making progress. You may already have invested significant effort into something and expected that effort to produce a visible result by now. Yet circumstances may be moving according to a different rhythm. That can be frustrating for Taurus because you are often comfortable creating stability for yourself. When you are ready, you want things to become secure and dependable. But some situations cannot be rushed into readiness simply because you are ready. Instead of trying to control every outcome, ask yourself what part of the situation actually belongs to you. Then place your strength there. This is where a different kind of courage begins to appear. You may be invited to consider an opportunity, a change in direction, or a new approach to something you have been trying to solve. You may not have every answer yet, and that is okay. Saying yes does not mean moving forward without thought. It means recognizing when a door deserves your attention and then choosing your next step with intention. If you have been waiting for movement, allow that movement to begin through a clear decision rather than through pressure. Because sometimes the strongest action is the one that comes after you have stopped arguing with yourself. And if something becomes difficult along the way, do not measure your worth by how quickly you recover or how strongly you can hold yourself together. A difficult moment can reveal something much more important than whether you are strong enough to overcome it. It can reveal what you are actually willing to spend your strength on. The real question may not be whether you can push through another obstacle. It may be whether that obstacle is teaching you to become wiser about where you place your effort. Some battles deserve your full attention. Others only become exhausting because you keep trying to prove that you can overcome them. Your time and energy matter, Taurus. You may sometimes pour yourself into fixing, defending, proving, or carrying situations that were never meant to become your responsibility. Especially when you believe that one more effort might finally change everything. But there comes a point when persistence stops being devotion and starts becoming depletion. If a person, environment, or repeated situation constantly leaves you feeling as though you have to fight for your own peace, stepping back is not weakness. It is a decision about what your energy is worth. Boundaries may become especially important now. You do not have to respond to every challenge, answer every provocation, or explain every decision simply because someone expects your attention. There is strength in knowing when to engage and when to leave something alone. Not every closed door needs to be forced open. Your purpose is not served by spending your energy everywhere at once. Notice what genuinely supports your growth and what only keeps you trapped in a cycle of reaction. As you move through August 29th, let your definition of progress become more thoughtful. You may actually be closer to an important goal than you realize. But being close does not mean you need to immediately chase another target the moment something begins to go well. Sometimes your greatest temptation arrives just after you realize you are right. You feel momentum returning, and suddenly you want to accelerate again. Let yourself appreciate the progress, but remain present enough to understand that lasting momentum requires pacing, attention, and the willingness to build instead of constantly beginning again. You are proving your worth through what you choose, what you sustain, and what you are willing to walk away from. That carries more weight than outside approval ever could. If something you have worked toward begins to take shape, allow yourself to feel proud without turning that pride into pressure to accomplish even more immediately. You can acknowledge how far you have come while still remaining focused on what needs your care next. Confidence becomes steadier when it no longer depends on constantly having something to prove. There is also something important about sharing your progress with the people who have been part of your journey. You may hope that everyone around you will understand your excitement or respond with the same enthusiasm you feel. But people are moving through their own circumstances, fears, and seasons. If someone does not celebrate exactly as you imagined, try not to automatically interpret that as rejection or as a judgment of your success. Your growth can quietly inspire another person without requiring them to stand beside you in exactly the same way. And sometimes the healthiest response is simply to let your progress speak for itself. As you continue forward, do not let determination make you forget the things that keep you strong enough to continue. Rest, nourishment, recovery, and quiet time are not distractions from your goals. They are part of how you sustain them. The point is not simply to reach the place you have been working toward. It is to have enough strength left within you to actually live there. Your energy needs fuel, Taurus. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do is step back long enough to make sure you are not burning through yourself simply to prove that you can keep going. Across August 29, 2026, the deeper emotional theme is about seeing what has been hidden beneath your urgency and deciding what genuinely deserves your attention. The star appears as a symbol of renewed perspective after a period when you may have questioned your direction. Its message is not simply to hope that everything becomes better. It is to connect hope with honest self-awareness. Instead of waiting for someone outside of you to confirm that you are on the right path, notice what brings you a quiet sense of purpose. Clarity does not always arrive as a dramatic answer. Sometimes clarity is simply realizing that one path no longer feels worth forcing. The star also speaks to the part of you that may have become tired of carrying disappointment as though disappointment were proof that you need to try harder. You can acknowledge what hurt without allowing it to dictate your next move. If something in your personal life has caused you to question yourself, give yourself room to recover your confidence without turning healing into another task you must complete perfectly. Your vulnerability does not make you less powerful, Taurus. It gives you information about what matters, what has changed, and where your strength can now be used more wisely. Then comes the Wheel of Fortune, bringing movement and changing circumstances. Its message is not that everything will suddenly turn in your favor. Instead, it reminds you that no situation remains frozen forever. Something that has felt stalled or uncertain may begin to shift. Your role is not to control every turn of the wheel. Your role is to recognize when the landscape changes and respond without clinging to the strategy that worked yesterday. For a Taurus who naturally prefers stability, this can become a meaningful lesson in flexibility. Sometimes progress comes from knowing when to adjust your direction rather than simply increasing your effort. The Magician then brings your attention back to what is already in your hands. You may have more resources, experience, patience, creativity, and practical ability than you have been giving yourself credit for. But having the tools is only part of the equation. The deeper question is how intentionally you use them. The Magician represents the moment when you stop waiting for perfect conditions and begin working with what is actually available. An idea can become a plan. A conversation can become a decision. A frustration can become a more useful form of action. For you, Taurus, the message is not about forcing reality to obey your wishes. It is about directing your energy instead of scattering it. If you have been trying to solve everything at once, choose one meaningful priority and give it your full attention. This is especially important in relationships. Say what you need to say, but also create enough space to hear what another person needs from you. Real confidence does not require you to control every conversation. The Four of Wands brings a softer dimension into your love life, pointing toward stability, belonging, celebration, and the foundations you are building with another person. You may desire something that feels alive without becoming chaotic, passionate without constantly needing to be proved. If you are in a relationship, there may be value in creating moments where neither person has to solve anything, win an argument, or decide what comes next. Sometimes closeness grows through ordinary things. Sharing a meal, taking a walk, having an honest conversation, or simply allowing another person to feel heard. If you are single, the same symbolism asks you to examine how quickly you move toward what excites you. Attraction can create an immediate spark, but a lasting connection needs time to reveal its character. You may be comfortable showing interest when someone genuinely matters to you, and that confidence can serve you well. But there is another kind of courage in slowing down enough to discover whether someone can actually meet you where you are. You do not have to extinguish the spark. Give it enough time to show whether it can become a steady flame. The Emperor then brings structure into the story, and this is especially meaningful for Taurus. Real strength is not about controlling every variable or proving that you are the person who can handle everything. It is about making clear decisions, establishing healthy boundaries, accepting responsibility for your choices, and knowing when discipline will serve you better than resistance. The more consciously you direct your energy, the less you need to react to every obstacle. This same principle matters for your health. Rather than treating your body as something that simply has to keep up with your responsibilities, pay attention to whether your pace is sustainable. If you have been skipping rest, rushing through meals, ignoring fatigue, or treating recovery as something you will handle later, your body may be asking for a different rhythm. You do not need to become rigid about wellness, but consistency in sleep, nourishment, movement, and downtime can help you protect the energy you need for everything else. The goal is balance without turning balance into another performance. Enjoy what you enjoy, work toward what matters, and give yourself permission to slow down when your body asks for it. A strong foundation still needs maintenance, and your ambitions work the same way. If you want your momentum to last, respect the conditions that allow you to keep moving with a clear mind and a steady sense of yourself. When it comes to work, communication from a supervisor, manager, teacher, or another person in a position of authority could challenge your first reaction. If you have been working hard, criticism, or even a simple question about your performance may initially feel more personal than it actually is. Before pushing back or defending yourself, pause and ask what the feedback is actually pointing toward. There may simply be something that needs clarification, a habit that could be improved, or a priority that has become blurred because you have been carrying too many goals at once. Your dependable nature can be one of your greatest professional strengths, but it can also make slow systems and outside direction frustrating. Listen carefully, take what is useful, then decide what needs to change rather than reacting from pride or stubbornness. Adapting your strategy does not make you less capable. It shows that your determination is becoming more disciplined. If you have been searching for work, building a project, or waiting for someone to recognize what you can offer, the lack of an immediate result does not necessarily mean the opportunity is gone. Sometimes the position you wanted was simply too narrow for the person you are becoming. What looked like a delay may have been giving you room to reconsider what kind of work would actually allow your strengths to grow. Your natural persistence can become especially valuable here. Instead of waiting indefinitely for someone else to open the right door, consider whether there is another route you can create for yourself. You do not need to make a reckless leap, but you can begin gathering the pieces of something that belongs to you. When it comes to finances, August 29th carries a theme of reassessment rather than a promise of sudden fortune. You may notice something about the way you have been handling money, resources, commitments, or long-term plans that deserves another look. That realization may be more valuable than a temporary windfall. The Wheel of Fortune reminds you symbolically that circumstances change, but it also asks you to remain adaptable enough to respond when they do. The star brings clearer perspective. If uncertainty has made you question whether your efforts are leading anywhere, this is an opportunity to replace vague hope with a more practical sense of direction. Think about what you are building. Think about where your energy is going. Ask whether your current choices support the kind of stability you actually want. You do not need to chase every possibility simply because it looks exciting. Sometimes abundance begins by recognizing which opportunities deserve deeper commitment and which ones are distracting you from the plan that already matters. The magician reinforces your ability to work with what you already possess. Your ideas, skills, experience, creativity, and willingness to begin are resources. But they become most useful when organized around a clear purpose. Turn the spark into structure. Turn the idea into steps. Allow your determination to become something tangible rather than scattering itself across too many possibilities. The Four of Wands shifts the financial message toward foundations, while the Emperor adds discipline. You do not need to control everything, but you do need to know what you are responsible for, what you are willing to commit to, and where stronger boundaries around your resources may be necessary. Family brings a different lesson. You cannot always approach familiar relationships with the same directness you would use to handle a personal goal. Misunderstandings may become easier to address when you are willing to listen before deciding what everyone should do next. The star can symbolize renewed hope within these relationships. The Wheel of Fortune reflects the reality that family dynamics change as people grow and move through different circumstances. You cannot control how everyone responds, but you can choose the quality of your own participation. The magician becomes intentional communication. Instead of waiting for everyone to somehow understand what you mean, say what you need clearly and give others enough room to respond in their own way. The Four of Wands brings attention to warmth and shared foundations. The Emperor reminds you that healthy family relationships still require boundaries. You can care deeply about someone without allowing every demand, disagreement, or expectation to dictate your choices. Sometimes the most constructive form of strength is knowing when to speak firmly and when to let another person find their own way. There may be a strong sense of momentum around you, Taurus. Your motivation may be returning, and you may finally feel ready to tackle something you have been postponing. Yet that is precisely when pacing becomes important. Pause is not surrender. Sometimes a pause is where you gather enough clarity to make your next move cleaner, stronger, and more effective. Pay attention when your body asks for recovery, even if your mind insists there is still more to accomplish. The healthiest version of your determination is not the one that keeps going until there is nothing left. It is the one that knows when to restore its strength so the next step comes from capacity rather than depletion. There is also an opportunity to begin something you have been thinking about for a while. If a project, conversation, application, creative idea, or personal decision has remained on your mind, consider what one deliberate action could move it from thought into reality. You do not need to solve the entire path at once. Take the step that genuinely belongs in front of you. Then allow the next piece to become visible through experience. Be careful with extremes. Excessive enthusiasm can make you promise more than your energy can sustain, while excessive caution can make you abandon something simply because it is taking longer than expected. Your strength now comes from holding both sides, the courage to move and the discipline to reflect. You are not being asked to become less committed. You are learning how to make your commitment useful. For students, this same principle applies to learning. Your patience, consistency, and ability to remain committed can help you stand out. But real growth also requires humility. Someone else may see something you missed. If you are working with classmates or participating in a team, listen to other perspectives before deciding that your approach is automatically the strongest. Giving someone else room to contribute does not diminish your ability. It expands the information available to you. Knowledge also becomes deeper when you are genuinely curious rather than simply trying to complete a task or reach a particular result. Let your determination help you learn, but allow curiosity to challenge you as well. 3 signs may bring especially useful qualities into your awareness during this period, not as fixed predictions, but as symbolic reflections of qualities that can complement your Taurus nature. Scorpio can teach you the power of strategic focus. You may naturally want to remain with what feels secure once you know what you want, while Scorpio energy reminds you that sometimes the strongest move is to observe carefully. Protect your intentions and understand what is happening beneath the surface before making your next decision. Virgo brings precision and consistency. Taurus can create steady progress over time, but Virgo reminds you that consistency becomes even more powerful when you pay attention to details and refine your approach. Virgo energy can show you how much can change when you remain committed to small actions and allow them to build into something tangible. Capricorn offers another valuable lesson: patience with purpose. Instead of remaining in one place simply because change feels uncomfortable, Capricorn energy reminds you that some achievements require structure, endurance, and the willingness to build one solid step at a time. It encourages you to think beyond the immediate result and ask whether the path you are choosing can support the future you are trying to create. Taurus, as you move through August 29, 2026, keep returning to the question of direction. You already know how to remain committed. You know how to build. You know how to create stability when circumstances are uncertain. But your deeper growth may now come from becoming more deliberate about where that strength belongs. The strongest foundation is not the one that refuses to change. It is the one strong enough to adapt when change arrives while still protecting what truly matters. Take what genuinely speaks to your experience and question what does not. Astrology can offer a symbolic lens, but you remain the person who decides what to do with what you see. If this reading gave you a moment of clarity or helped you recognize something about the way you are moving through your life, support the channel by leaving a like and sharing this space with someone who may find it meaningful. And if you would like to stay connected with future readings, reflections, and messages for the road ahead, subscribe and turn on notifications so you can return whenever these conversations are useful to you. Thank you for being part of this community. Stay grounded, Taurus, but let direction decide where your energy goes. Because the movement you are building now is shaped not only by how patiently you continue, but by how consciously you choose what comes next.